Ukraine may hold a referendum in which society will be asked to decide on a peace plan to end the war with Russia. This was stated by President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. He noted that Ukraine might decide to hold elections simultaneously with the referendum.
We can go to a referendum with a comprehensive agreement that will formalize the end of the war because people can choose, does this outcome suit us or not? And then, a referendum.
Zelenskyy added that in order to hold a referendum, Ukraine needs at least 60 days during which the ceasefire must continue. Otherwise, the referendum held may be considered illegitimate. The president explained that voting is necessary in the event of the introduction of potential free economic zones in disputed territories in Ukraine.
If we're talking about this, then we need to go to a referendum. If we go to a referendum, we'll have to proceed with a full agreement.
According to the president, the peace agreement may define the status of a special economic zone and the steps that both sides of the conflict must take on an equivalent basis to redeploy forces. Zelenskyy also stated that the peace plan, which Ukraine, the US, and Russia have been discussing for the past 2 months, consists of 20 points. A draft of the political document for the peace plan is currently being discussed between Ukraine, the US, Europe, and Russia. Zelenskyy called the territorial issue the most difficult of the 20 points. According to him, in the Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson regions, the line of troop deployment on the date of this agreement is considered the de facto recognized line of contact. The president noted that a working group should be convened for this issue, which will determine the movement of forces necessary to end the conflict, as well as the parameters of potential future special economic zones.
We are in a situation where the Russians want us to withdraw from the Donetsk region, while the Americans are trying to find a way for it not to be a withdrawal, because we are against withdrawing. They want to find either a demilitarized zone or a free economic zone in this context. In other words, a format that can accommodate the views of both sides.
Zelenskyy also emphasized that the peace plan includes a provision reaffirming Ukraine's sovereignty.
We state that Ukraine is a sovereign state, and all signatories to the agreement confirm this with their signatures.
The president stated that the document is a complete and unconditional non-aggression agreement between Russia and Ukraine.
To maintain long-term peace, a monitoring mechanism will be established to control the line of contact using space-based unmanned monitoring, ensuring early warning of violations and conflict resolution.
Ukraine must receive solid security guarantees. As the president stated, in the event of a new Russian invasion, all global sanctions that were in effect at the height of the war will be automatically reinstated. The partners also guarantee a coordinated military response on land, at sea, and in the air. At the same time, a condition of so-called clean fire is introduced. The security guarantees apply exclusively for defensive purposes. If Ukraine is the first to open fire on Russian territory without provocation, partner support will be revoked. The document also specifies the size of the armed forces of Ukraine, 800,000 in peacetime, and that Ukraine will become a member of the EU and maintain a non-nuclear status. There is no compromise regarding the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. The United States proposes joint management by 3 parties with the Americans as the chief manager. Ukraine's compromise proposal is for the United States and Ukraine to share management 50-50. According to Zelenskyy, the plan's points also contain references to other possible documents. These include a trilateral document on security guarantees, Ukraine, the US, and Europe, a bilateral document on security guarantees for Ukraine from the US, and a roadmap for Ukraine's prosperity. The document developed with the US on recovery and economic development outlines a vision for development up to the year 2040.
Russia's war against Ukraine will apparently end next year, and on terms extremely unfavorable for Kyiv. This opinion was expressed by Politico columnist Jamie Detmer. In his view, such a grim forecast is largely due to the fact that the EU failed to agree on using 200 billion euros of frozen assets to ensure Ukraine's solvency and its ability to finance the war effort.
The failure of the proposal for a reparations loan, which involved using Russian assets, mainly those frozen in a clearing bank in Belgium, deprives Ukraine of guaranteed funding for the next 2 years.
The EU will still provide Ukraine with a significant funding package of 90 billion euros secured by the EU budget. However, although this will prevent a funding shortfall at the beginning of next year, the package is designed for 2 years, and it will not be enough for Ukraine to continue its fight, the commentator notes. It is also assumed that another loan may be added, indirectly linked to Russian assets. At the same time, obtaining another loan will not be such a simple matter. 3 countries, Hungary, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic already refused to participate in the joint borrowing program last week. It is not hard to imagine that others may join them. The Prime Minister of Belgium called the agreement a victory for Ukraine, a victory for financial stability, and a victory for the EU. However, Russian leader Vladimir Putin will see it differently, the political commentator emphasizes. Earlier in Brussels, the European Union decided to provide Ukraine with 90 billion euros in funding over 2 years. At the same time, Ukraine will only repay the 90 billion euro loan if Russia pays reparations. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz noted that this is a clear signal from Europe to the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin. This war is not worth it.